Good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, the 11, the 31st. Um, Before I go into the main part of this vlog, I want to address a couple of things that I read this morning about my cooking. The first thing I'm going to address is I had somebody ask me how long we lived in Germany and what made us move to Missouri. I lived in Germany for 3 years as a young kid, between the ages of 8 and 11. Um, we were there in an area that I talked about before in one of my other vlogs, but we lived 2 years. Yeah, we lived 2 years off base, which means basically what off base means for an overseas living condition when you're in the military is you live amongst the people in a apartment or a rental that you found through base housing. Now, when you first get to your destination, when you go, well, this is back in the 80s, when you as a family go overseas, you have a choice. When you go to Billeting can either put you up in a apartment type situation in a area of the base that's designated for living, for family living, basically. Or you have a choice, or we had a choice in Germany to live off base. And again, going through Billeting works with the communities around the base to find you a suitable living place. Well, my father got lucky because when he went into Billeting to find a place, and he told people, in Billeting, I want something for my wife, my son, and myself, and this is what I'm looking for. And at the time when he went in, there was I don't know if I would call him elderly. He was definitely in his 50s, maybe. Um, and he was in there putting up information for an apartment in a house above a German family, and the German family happened to be his son and son, daughter-in-law, and two kids. And when my dad went in and told him the spiel, this gentleman turned around and said, "I have a perfect place for you. You'll be living above my family. You'll be with my son-in-law and his two daughters and wife." At least I think that's how the conversation went. I wasn't there to personally hear the whole thing, but knowing my dad the way my dad is, of course, they chatted each other up and made a decision. But that was the first place we lived off base. On base, we lived in a very, let's just put it this way, the exterior walls were good and soundproof because they had to be. We were at one end of a runway, and the only thing between us and the actual base itself was maybe 50 to 100 yards worth of wooded land. So even though you had the sound barrier from the trees, you can still hear the jets taking off. But the interior of the building was not that great because you can hear your neighbors, you can hear the door all the way down to the very bottom of the building opening and closing, various things like that. So then the third and final year we were there, we lived off base. Back in the same town we were in before. A little German town called Outlay. It's up the hill from the Mosel River from the town of Zell. If I can find Zell, I can find Outlay, and then I can point out where the base was. Um, so that was our duration in Germany. We had a lot of fun. We came back from Germany with recipes and um, a couple of beer steins, a bunch of wine glasses from the various castles we've seen. Pictures galore, stories galore. I'm not going to go into the stories because I could sit here for a whole day and tell you all the different stories about Germany. Um, but the people were friendly. Landscape was beautiful. I mean pristine. Yeah, pristine. I'm gonna say the word pristine. Um, you couldn't get views that we had gotten from various locations that we went to visit. Um, Now I know I've seen plenty of gorgeous pictures of Ireland and Scotland and Scandinavia and various bits and pieces of the countryside through from various countries in Europe. Yes, we have our pristine uh, views of various things. Some people like taking cityscape. I don't. I'm more of a countryscape, mountains, log cabins, things like that. Now, as for reasons for moving to Missouri, well, they're multiple. Before I moved to New York, because I'm not a New Yorker. My mom's not a New Yorker. My mom was born and raised here in Missouri. My dad was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. I was born and raised wherever the government sent us, um, until dad retired, of course. But I had moved from Missouri because this is where mom and I settled after we left Arizona after my father passed away. I went to New York, got married. My story is amongst my videos, basically. But Diane and I basically lived with her father, and then when he passed away in 2010, we started making tentative plans to leave New York because one, my wife's not really a New Yorker in the sense of that's all she wants to be is in New York. She, granted, was born and raised in New York, but she has had plenty of opportunity to go to Georgia with a friend of hers to see Georgia and how life is down there. And she met me, and we've come out here to Missouri and then Ohio, and she's gotten a taste of that kind of lifestyle. And her decorative style is more country chic or French country. She's not a city or industrial type art. She doesn't like that kind of art. She likes ouch, the quaintness and the beauty of country life. Um, so what happened was I'm an only child. She has brothers and sisters. Mom was here by herself, and we started making tentative plans even before her father passed away to be able to one day move out here. Well, when one day came, we were like, okay, before we can move out there, we have to do X, Y, and Z, which is basically make sure we have enough money to afford the move, make sure we have a place to stay comfortably, and until we can figure out our living, our accommodations, and whatnot, rent and buy or whatever. Mom and I were okay with rent. Joanne wanted to buy, and I was kind of like, well, I see the good about buying because you can do whatever you want with the house and the yard and whatnot without having to going through a third party to get the landlord to say, sure, go ahead and do it. Um, but we were making plans, and we were trying to save up money, and we were trying to do one thing or another. And I had come out here on my own with the tentative plans of getting a job and establishing income. So when Jerry moved out here, we're not scrambling for an income so we can pay our bills and whatnot. And then what happened was Hurricane Sandy came through. Now Hurricane Sandy did do a fair amount of damage and whatnot to our area that we were living in. We were in what they called the red zone. And the red zone was the area that got flooding and damage, and basically it was also the zone that a lot of like fires occurred due to the electricity wasn't shut off in time before the water came along and caused an electrical spark to cause a fire. All that is new. All that is in the news reports and whatnot from the time. So we ended up having to leave the house that we were living in because even though it was a two-story legal two-family home, had an upstairs portion or apartment type thing and a downstairs portion. And our portion got like, if it wasn't for the fact that we had a good 2 foot crawl space, there would have been 5 feet of water within the house. It would have been licking the roof of the downstairs part of the house. Ceiling, not roof, ceiling. So we lost books and possessions in one form or other, photos, things that were below the water line. Luckily, my sister-in-law happened to come to our house because her house easily floods, and she knew it was going to be like devastated. In fact, her house, it got lifted off the foundation, and it was two houses connected like this, and it got lifted. The neighbors got lifted up off the foundation and separated from the connecting point. So her house had to be literally destroyed. Um, but my sister-in-law was in the house at the time and was able to get all the like electronics, my gaming equipment, and everything that was kind of low to the ground up onto tables and countertops and whatnot. Um, so we got lucky to a certain extent because the way my sister-in-law described it was she was in the house, or she had taken her dog out for a walk, and she didn't even get out the door. The dog literally fell into water and was like paddling. So she had to pick up the dog, bring the dog in the house, close the door, shove a bunch of towels and whatnot in front of the door to keep water from coming in. Well, the water didn't come in through the front door. It came up from underneath. So, yeah. We got lucky in the fact that we didn't lose everything. We just lost a bunch of books and a bunch of little things here and there, and knickknacks and tchotchkes and records, and I mean LP records. The basically anything that was a paper good item was basically gone. Books, magazines, pictures, everything. And it took 3 days for us to be able to get before the local authorities gave us the okay to go to the house to start cleaning up. So by the time we got there, the house reeked of seawater and not really sewage, but it was more like musty smelling from the seawater. So after we got that cleaned up, and we moved to a very dinky one-room apartment that was connected or on the second floor of the group home that Jerry Ann was manager of, because the manager gets to stay in the apartment. The downside of that was the fact of the constant 24-hour noises and things that would wake me up in the middle of the night or early in the morning before I wanted to get up to go to work. So I was getting let's just say, because of the frustrations and the headaches and the constant bombardment of sound and noise and just things that would grate on my already raw nerve, I basically said, look, we either got to find a way to move now or find a place for us to stay other than here, because this is just too much with the slamming doors and the banging doors and the yelling and just things that I couldn't deal with at the time. So we had found out that Red Cross, I think it was Red Cross. Red Cross was basically offering up the assistance to move out of the area if you wanted to move out of the area. So we took them up and we moved out here to be with Mom. Um, I'm sorry, this is getting to be longer than I wanted to on a simple thing. That's basically one thing that I want to deal with. The other thing I wanted to deal with is somebody was, well, one person offered it up as a constructive piece of advice, and the other person was offering it up as a nag, I guess you'd say. I don't know, but I want to address that because both of them had a curious point. They suggested boiling the bratwursts before cooking them to make sure they get cooked thoroughly. Two reasons why I don't boil. One, bratwursts are never in a German's palate boiled. In fact, very few meat products that I know about are boiled when it comes to Germans and how they cook their meats. Um, Grilled, broiled, barbecued, but never boiled. That in fact, I did try boiling once because I was thinking, oh, it's just a German version of a hot dog. Not quite. What I ended up getting was a mess. Because what happened, especially if they're made traditionally, the casing on that bratwurst will split. And what happens when you boil a bratwurst and they split, the meat inside the casing will just start to ooze out. And then you end up getting a watery mess of meat. No, thank you. It's one thing that when you grill them or barbecue them, that the brats will start to crack and split in certain areas. That lets you know that they're done. That's basically the natural way of letting you know the meat is done. Excuse me. Now, Mom's was the only one that came out looking burnt. And the reason for that is because of the factor when I butterflied it, I should have flipped it over so the butterfly was towards the heat of the pan and the casing was towards the top. That's my bad. But the thing is, the way I cook the brats, even if they look like they're burnt, they're not really burnt. They're not overcooked. It's a combination of the skin trying to protect itself or protect meat and whatnot from getting overcooked. And I used butter, not oil. I don't use oil when it comes to brats. I prefer butter because when you put the sauerkraut, which has juices of its own in there, and then the canned potatoes, the butter adds to the flavor. Now, Mom didn't have a complaint because Mom likes her meat cooked well done. A little bit of pink is fine by her. So, those of you who thought that I might have done it wrong, no, I didn't. I didn't do it wrong. They came out perfectly. Now, if the method of cooking and the factor that it got dark or almost looked like it was burnt, you can do it however you want to. I'm not telling you not to do it your way. What I do ask though is, you can give suggestions all you want. That's fine and dandy. But when you start making those suggestions sound like your way is the absolute way and that's how it should be done, then no, I don't care for your comment. I'm not trying to get mean. I'm not trying to get rude, but when people get assertive with me, because I try not to get assertive with other people, and if I do, I'm sorry. When people start getting assertive in such a manner that it sounds like it's an absolute, I shut off. Why, I don't know. It's a psychological thing. Anyhow, eeks. I might have to just cut this video off and start a different one. No, I'm going to make this quick. I told everybody that I was going to try my best to make Sunday a Bible study day. Unfortunately, it didn't start out that way. Mostly because I wanted to address one particular comment that was, it was a question of where I came, how long I was in Germany. I could have stopped there. I probably should have, but I also wanted to basically tell everybody why I didn't boil the brats. Boil the brats. Ugh. I'll be making borscht. Today's title of the devotional, out of my devotional book, is called The Blame Game. Yeah. It is basically saying to read Leviticus 16, chapter 5, verse 5, chapter 16, verse 5 to 22. I'm sorry, I just started having issues with talking. Let's see here. It also has a little, I'm going to read this little thing here. The next day John saw Jesus coming toward him and said, Look, the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. John 1:29. Now the author, I'm not going to give authors' names. She goes to talk about about blaming for a lot of different things. And by the sounds of it, she's blaming herself, which I can understand because I blame myself for a lot of different things too. The blame game can be one of those tricky little things. And what I mean by the tricky little things is, depending on what the situation is, depends on what kind of blame you put on somebody or yourself. Now I'm going to take and basically put this within myself because, like I said, there's a lot of things I blame myself for, whether it's my fault or not. I take on a lot of burden. Jerry Ann can contest to this because I don't point my finger at a lot of people. Yeah, I do blame certain things that's happening at work on other people, because if we're going to work as a team, we need to. Now, I don't even know if it would be blame then, because I'm not talking about something I did and I blame somebody else for it. It's more like something happens and it's like, why didn't they finish their job? Why didn't they do all their tasks before going home? But there have been times where I will sit there and go, yeah, I didn't get this done because we got very busy. So that's me blaming the amount of customers for why I didn't finish little menial tasks like facing the beer cave or, having the whole floor mopped. On busy days, I mop the areas that are high traffic, from the soda area, from the countertops. So yeah, I do, point the finger and do the blame game thing. But for the most part, I blame myself for a lot of things. Now, how can you blame things like high anxiety, stress, allergies? Who do you blame? Who do you point the finger at when it comes to that? Because that's something that's just allergies. You can't really help that. That's just either part of your genetic makeup or something that developed over time. But I left out the bread. Who do I blame? I'm the one who did it. Why should I be blaming somebody else? But there's a lot of us out there that blame other people for their downfalls. Um, I hate doing this, but I'm going to. It's going to go into an area that I normally don't talk about. But for instance, I don't even like calling him this, but President Trump wants to blame President Obama for not having enough medical supplies for this pandemic. What? Huh? That don't make no sense. Those are the kind of blames that just are like, well, how can you blame somebody for not having enough supplies or medicine or whatnot for something that nobody could have predicted? What? I'm sorry, Mr. President, that don't make no sense. Um, those kind of blames are just like, how can you use that as a blame? Nobody could be blamed for that because nobody could have predicted it. I mean, okay, I can understand a husband blaming the wife for something that happened at the house that may or may not have been his doing. It might have been something that just happened. I mean, okay, let's say I'm home, I'm off at work, and one of the gaskets corrodes on my kitchen sink and starts spraying water everywhere. Who's to blame? Things like that is like, you can't blame anybody for something that you could not have foreseen happening. Now, okay, let's say I decide that I just don't like my job no more and I'm going to be a dirty little rat and I'm going to turn off a piece of equipment, but while the piece of equipment is off, let's say the cappuccino machine. The cappuccino machine has problems of one form or another. But let's say I decide after I've turned off the equipment to clean, and it's towards the end of the night, I know nobody else is going to get cappuccino, and I decide to take the O-ring, the little gasket that keeps the water from flowing everywhere when you hit the button. I take that off. And all of a sudden, next day, they turn it on and somebody hits a button and it sprays water all over the inside of the machine. Now, I know that's my fault because I'm the one who did it because I'm being a dirty little rat. Um, but whom do we blame? Well, instantaneously, most people are going to blame the last person who was there. Me. Okay. Am I going to take it though? No. I decide not to. That's just wrong. But let's say, in the process of me cleaning the machine, and I go to put the piece back in place, and I don't realize that the piece is not exactly in place. And then tomorrow when they come in and it starts leaking, it's not spraying, it's just leaking water or leaking the cappuccino into a different area that it shouldn't be going into. Now, whose fault is that? Is it mine because of the fact that I did not double check to make sure my pieces were in place properly? Or is it just the fact that maybe the O-ring itself is a bad O-ring? It's going bad. It needs to be replaced, but I don't realize it because we don't take the O-rings off to clean. We just take the mixing chamber off and clean that and then put it back in place. The O-ring should still stay in place. It happens. I mean, we can blame somebody for something that we knowingly had happen and say, oh, well, it must have been messed up before I came in here because you were the last one in here and you should have been the one to fix it. It wasn't broken when I came in. How would I know to fix it if it's not if it looks like it's right when I put everything back together? So the blame game can cause all kinds of issues. It can cause anxiety, stress. It can cause issues with coworkers, family members, friends. It's a two-way street. Now, on the human aspect, we can try to lift each other up and tell each other that it's okay, that it's fine, nothing, there was no harm, no foul. Or we can do the totally opposite and basically start getting sarcastic and yelling at them and putting them down and making them feel like total, I don't even like to use the words, but we just make them feel bad, which in turn causes that person stress and anxiety and other problems. It's one of those things where it can go round and round and round, and nothing positive can come out of it. Or it can be something where you go, I don't mean to blame you. I'm not blaming you. Can we work this out? Can we fix this? Can we deal with it in a positive, nurturing manner? It's how we deal with it, how we deal with the situation. Do we blame somebody or something because of the situation, or do we just sit there and go, it is what it is, let's just try to fix it without any more problems? The Bible gives us all different kinds of what ifs. And then with those what ifs, it gives us solutions. Now we can sit there and play the blame game, which again gets nowhere. Or we can find the solution. We have the problem, let's find the solution. Anyhow, it is Sunday. I would love to spend more time diving into what the Bible has to say about various situations. But unfortunately, well, no, I shouldn't say unfortunately. I have to work today. I am working today 2 to 10. Tomorrow I'm working 2 to 7. And then Tuesday I'm working 2 to 10. And then I have my time off, even though I have 2 to 3 extra days that I didn't really request. I have a feeling that once we get back from Ohio, I'm going to stop up at the shop and say, hey, look, I'm back. If you need me to come in anytime the next 2 days, give me a holler. Or whatever time. Because I originally asked for Tuesday off. No. Tuesday's 9th. I had originally asked for the 9th off to have that extra day for what ifs. We break down on the way home. I'm not going to be back in town in time. I'm going to have to call him. No, I wanted that extra day for just in case. Of course, I'm hoping there won't be a just in case. Anyhow, if you like this little blog, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in there. Thankfully, I haven't had that many comments that I had to rebuttal. Anyhow, whatever. So I'm happy about that. If you have any friends or family members who want to join my site because of maybe there's something they got out of it, that's fine and dandy. I'd be more than happy to have more subscribers. My last video did not get as much results as my other two cooking videos, but People are fickle. But anyhow, yeah. Hope you guys have a good day. God bless. Be safe. Have a good one. Bye.